Sarah had long dreamt of a life beyond the dusty streets she called home. In her tiny village nestled at the edge of the kingdom, she spent her childhood weaving stories while sitting under the shade of an old oak tree. "One day, I'll live in a castle," she'd whisper to herself, imagining silk gowns and grand feasts, a world so far removed from the threadbare tunic she wore every day. But Sarah didn't just dream, she learned. She practiced reading and writing with scraps of paper salvaged from the market, and spent hours balancing books on her head, imitating the grace she'd seen in noblewomen passing by. Yet such lofty dreams felt impossible for a girl like Sarah. Her father harvested oranges for a pittance, and her mother mended torn clothes for villagers. When Sarah wasn't helping them, she was cleaning floors at the local inn. Life was hard, predictable, and unchanging until the day a flyer fluttered into her hands. It had been pinned to the gate of the mayor's house but had come loose in the wind. Sarah caught sight of the golden crest at the top, one she'd seen in her storybooks before. With trembling hands, she read the words aloud. "Entrance exam for the Royal Academy of Princesses, open to all maidens of the kingdom, scholarships available." Sarah's heart thumped wildly in her chest. She wasn't noble, she wasn't wealthy, she wasn't even the daughter of a knight or scholar. And yet the words "open to all" seemed to call out to her, silently begging her to believe in the impossible. It had been pinned to the gate of the mayor's house but had come loose in the wind. Sarah caught sight of the golden crest at the top, one she'd seen in her storybooks before. It was the royal emblem of the palace. With trembling hands, she read the words aloud. "Entrance exam for the Royal Academy of Princesses, open to all maidens of the kingdom. Scholarships available." Sarah's heart thumped wildly in her chest. Against the advice of nearly everyone in her town, who dismissed the idea as laughable, Sarah decided she would audition for the academy. It didn't matter that her dress was patched a dozen times or that her shoes pinched her toes. With fierce determination and her family's reluctant blessing, she traveled to the capital, clutching the battered satchel her mother had packed with homemade bread and love. The academy gates towered above her, their gold detailing shimmering in the morning sunlight. Noble girls arrived in carriages, their jeweled dresses glittering and attendants fussing over them like butterflies around flowers. Sarah had never seen so much wealth concentrated in one place. Her knees quivered, but she held her chin high. The entrance exam consisted of 3 parts: etiquette, academics, and a unique challenge that would be revealed at the end. In each hall, Sarah felt the weight of the room's judgment. Her peers eyed her patched hems and mud-worn boots, whispering mean-spirited remarks that burned her ears. But Sarah refused to let their words shatter her focus. She concentrated on the examiner's instructions, moving gracefully despite never having attended the grand balls her peers joked about. When asked to decipher ancient texts, she relied on the knowledge gleaned during her many hours poring over borrowed books in the village square. Sarah's determination shone through, her resolve unwavering despite the challenges and whispers around her. For her unique challenge, she was asked to speak on what it meant to be a true princess. This moment was pivotal. Sarah inhaled deeply, looking out at the judges seated in their gilded chairs and the noble girls who leaned back with smug expressions. She didn't speak about riches or gowns suffused with embroidery, as others had. A princess isn't defined by the lace of her dress or the jewels in her crown. A true princess is someone who leads with kindness, who lifts those around her, and who gives her strength to those who are weak. It isn't about bloodlines, it's about heart lines. The silence that followed was deafening. Sarah feared her answer had been too simple, too naive. Then, one of the academy judges, a poised woman with a warm but penetrating gaze, nodded subtly. The exam ended, and Sarah left the hall unsure of her fate. The next day, a list of names was posted outside the academy gates. Despite her fear, Sarah pushed her way through the crowd to see the list. Her heart sank when she didn't immediately spot her name. But then, there it was, written in elegant script, Sarah Farrow. She'd been accepted. The years at the academy were not easy. Sarah remained an outsider in many ways. Her peers often mocked her humble background and whispered behind her back. She lacked the privilege they'd grown up with, the elegant routines ingrained in them since birth. But Sarah had one thing they often lacked, an unfaltering resolve. When others snickered, she practiced. When they belittled her, she studied. Slowly, her quiet determination began to earn her respect. One day, as the girls prepared for the annual royal banquet, a moment where their progress was judged by the king and queen themselves, Sarah noticed Lady Evangeline, the same judge who had nodded after her speech on her entrance exam, standing quietly at the edge of the ballroom. Evangeline watched the girls with a discerning eye, noting Sarah's grace and measured movements as she practiced her steps alone, unbothered by the bustling crowd of ladies flitting about in their ornate gowns.
You've faced more challenges than any girl here, yet you carry yourself with dignity and poise. Never lose that spirit.
Sarah smiled softly. The words meant more than gold ever could. By the time the banquet arrived, Sarah was ready. The king and queen nodded approvingly at her performance, and rumors began to circulate that she was being considered for a future ambassador role, a prestigious position that required not only grace, but intelligence and compassion. By the time Sarah graduated, she had made a name for herself, not as the girl with patches on her dress, but as someone who embodied the very heart of a princess. True to her words at the entrance exam, she had led with kindness, lifted up those around her, and proven that a crown isn't what defines royalty. With her chin held high, Sarah proved that even a girl from the dustiest streets had the power to shine brighter than gold.